WFLA Now, this is Hey JB. Here's JB Buno.
Justice for Cassie Carli on pause as Florida investigators await Alabama autopsy results in a lengthy process the Carli family is calling agonizing and unacceptable. We're live with an update on when we might finally learn the Florida mother's cause of death and whether murder charges will be filed. Hello there to you folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now across all platforms. I've been getting messages almost daily about updates, whether or not there are updates in the Cassie Carli investigation, and really the autopsy being performed in Huntsville, Alabama, in the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences. We do have a small update, not a big update to share, but at least a timeline. You can read the latest right now on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Click on the link in the description on this video. It'll take you over to all the latest that we have in this case. But the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences has provided a timeline update. And in short, what that timeline update is that we should know Cassie Carli's cause of death. We should receive the autopsy results, or at least the Florida investigators in charge of this case will receive those autopsy results by the end of October, at which time we anticipate them, of course, revealing that to the public. And most notably, Cassie Carli's family, Cassie's sister, Rayanne Carli, joining us here on the right side of your screen live on WFLA Now. Ray, you have been relentlessly contacting folks, agencies in Florida, agencies in Alabama, trying to get an update, pushing for the latest to surface here with your sister's case. What is the latest, and good afternoon to you.
Been in contact, of course, with all agencies. Fortunately, I was able to get a response back from the Alabama Forensic Lab in Huntsville that has my sister's samples and whatnot. So we are hoping that we can get those results back within 30 to 60 days. And that after that, we can finally get a charge. That is what we're hoping for. This has been agonizing, like you said. Let's
review the case. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Cassie Carli's story, with Ray's sister's story, if you're unfamiliar or you're just now remembering a little bit of the panic that ensued in late March of this year when Cassie Carli went missing, let's just kind of get you up to speed here. This really got complicated by crossing state lines because Cassie, here in the center of your screen, went missing March 27th of this year. There was a custody exchange between her and her ex-boyfriend, Marcus Spanavello, who will be showing you here in just a moment, in Navarre, on the Florida Panhandle on March 27th, and that's when she disappeared. No one saw her from that point forward. Fast forward a week. Her remains were found in St. Clair County, Alabama, with the arrest of the ex-boyfriend here on the center of your screen, this being Marcus Spanavello, who remains in jail on multiple charges, including tampering with evidence, destruction of evidence, but he has not been charged specifically and directly in Cassie's death, even though investigators do have a high level of confidence that they have their guy. We're going to talk more about Marcus here in just a moment, but it was early April when Alabama authorities, of course, had the remains, discovered the remains, said that they were going to be sent to Huntsville, Alabama for this autopsy to be performed. And we really didn't know at the time what the timeline would look like. Some states, and Ray knows this, some states it's 4 to 6 weeks for autopsy results to be returned. Again, that's autopsy with toxicology results as well. Other states, it can be a little bit longer. And there's a lot of different factors that come into play, such as the amount of resources, the backlog of additional cases. And we did a little bit of digging about a month ago, and I put this out on Twitter, that it was going to be roughly 4 to 6 months before the results came back. And this has been really, the word that you used when we talked about this yesterday, Ray, the word that you used is agonizing. We are a few days from entering month 5 of not knowing your sister's cause of death. And this, of course, has been really difficult for you and your family.
Oh, yes, it is. Not having any answers or any closure, it's very difficult to even I feel like, unfortunately, some of us haven't even started the grieving process. It's difficult without answers. And of course, her daughter, Sailor, she is doing happy and thriving, but she has questions as well. And we can't even answer those if we wanted to. So it just makes it very, very difficult to heal from all of this or get any closure.
And let's just kind of point this out for our audience while we do hear a little one there in the background of Ray's Zoom call here. That is your child at home. Sailor is on the Florida Panhandle. She's coming in here just to do a little mom work here on stream. Ray will be back with us here in just a second. Sailor, for those of you asking in our comment section, on the Florida Panhandle with the Carli family, and is said to be doing, of course, okay, in the respect of how any child could be doing after losing their mother at such a young age. So it's been, of course, a very, very difficult experience for the Carli family, and a 4-year-old girl losing her mother at such a young age in such, of course, terrible circumstances. This, of course, has been extraordinarily difficult, as you would imagine, on the young girl, who continues to ask, as Ray has told me off stream, continues to ask where her mother is. Ray, I see that you're back now.
Yes.
What are those? Those conversations cannot be easy, as far as those conversations with Sailor.
She is aware that her mother is in heaven now. She is aware of that. And we all just try to keep her memory alive, and stories and keepsakes and all of that. Sailor, she's smart. She's 4 and she is smart, but she is doing well. And we would just like, once again, to be able to have answers if we did choose to tell her.
So for those of you just joining us, asking for what is the update is Ray has been, us as well here at WFLA, we've been contacting various agencies. Ray has been contacting various agencies, just trying to get an update. But because this was a missing persons case out of Florida, with the lead agency being the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office, and the remains found in, of course, St. Clair County, Alabama, and central Alabama, not to mention that Marcus had crossed state lines even a 3rd time into Tennessee. This just made the process a little bit more cumbersome from an investigative standpoint and from an autopsy standpoint. While the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office is the lead investigative agency on the case, as we understand as of right now, the autopsy is being performed in Huntsville, Alabama, where of course, the amount of resources and the expectations are different when it comes to an autopsy. We are asking in a poll question here, and this is something that we'll get into a little bit more in just a moment. We're asking in a poll question, do you believe, and I'm talking to our audience here at home, do you believe that high-profile death cases should be allowed expedited special treatment, if you will, expedited autopsy results, or should all cases be treated the same? Just as they come into a state lab, they're treated in line order, linearly, if you will. We'll get to those poll results here in just a moment. But Ray, we're now entering, the 5th month of waiting for this, and as we await the cause of death, and as we await the autopsy results, the toxicology results as well, all of this coming back to Alabama and Florida authorities. All the meanwhile, the lone suspect in this case, Marcus Spanavello, remains locked up. This is Cassie Carli's ex-boyfriend, again, locked up on multiple charges. And what do you want to say in regards to Marcus remaining in jail on these charges and still not being charged in Cassie's death?
I want to say of course it is nice knowing he is incarcerated behind bars, not out in the free world, but it's what he's in there for. He's not being held accountable for what he did. And what he did was murder my sister. So it shows also some of you may be aware, my sister fought this battle with him and tried to speak up and be heard by the courts and the system and everyone, and she was failed. And it's scary to think that even in her death, she's not being represented. She's still being failed. So I hope I'm wrong in that. And I pray that we can see those charges very shortly because although he's in jail, he's not in jail for the right reason. And we need it to be murder, and know that this will not happen to someone else. There's millions of Cassies out there, millions. And they may be even more fearful to speak up now because they see how this case is being treated. And I don't want that. I want justice to be served for my sister and for thousands of millions of other women out there.
And I remember very vividly the last time that you and your entire family and even Cassie's friends were on the live stream with us, and you had delivered a harrowing account of what Cassie had told your family. She said, and I want to just make sure that our audience remembers this, Cassie had told members of the Carli family that if anything ever happened to her, that it was Marcus, that it was him. Do you remember those conversations, Ray?
Yes, I do, unfortunately. There were many conversations of her fearing Marcus, and she had the right to be fearful. Honestly, he kept winning against her with his contempt of courts and all that. But we were still nonetheless shocked when he chose to finally do something.
So let's talk about this wait for these results for your sister's autopsy. It's a long time, and this is not something that is exclusive to Ray and the Carli family. There are perhaps countless families, hundreds if not thousands of families, who are in a queue, in a virtual line, if you will, awaiting results, autopsy results, toxicology results, trying to figure out exactly what happened to their loved one. In some cases, look, it's more clearly defined, and other cases, it's more of a mystery where we don't know exactly what happened to that loved one. 4 to 6 months was when I called up, and I was transferred from agency to agency to agency, just trying to get an answer as to, for the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, and this is, again, talking about one of 50 states. We're talking about Alabama here. When I was trying to get answers as to what the estimated timetable is as of now, given the log of autopsy and toxicology cases that are going through Alabama DFS, I was told the expected timeline is 4 to 6 months. This right now, roughly a couple of days off, would be right in the middle of that expected timetable. And Ray has been told to expect, as of, I believe, yesterday, been told to expect results of the autopsy within 30 to 60 days. For you and others, Ray, that are waiting out there, what do you feel, how do you feel about the timeline of autopsy results being 4 to 6 months?
I mean, of course, I think it's unacceptable, but I do understand there's other cases out there. We are not the only victims currently. And I don't think we're no better or special than anyone else. But I hope that maybe they could see in cases like this, for example, with minors involved, maybe there could be some expediting going on, because it all is tied together in some way. It makes ripples. One decision affects many others. For example, us having to go through family court and whatnot. So I just don't see why maybe we could expedite it a little faster.
So let's get to some of what folks are saying. You can use hashtag HeyJB in the Facebook Live or YouTube Live comment section if you'd like to have your voice heard. If you'd like to say something to Ray and the Carli family, this is what we do interactively. So if you want to say something, you can use hashtag HeyJB in either the Facebook Live or YouTube Live comment section. And we'll go here to Nicole. Hashtag HeyJB. The family has every right to know the autopsy results. And let's make this clear to our audience. The autopsy results are not complete. That is something that we have found out from Alabama DFS. Now, when I did digging, I was told that it was, in all likelihood, the holdup was toxicology results, that the actual examination of the remains had been completed for some time, and that really toxicology was the lengthy part of the process that was extending the timeline into the 4 to 6 month range. So it's not as if somebody in a lab coat has the full autopsy results and they're just not telling the family because of red tape. It's that the results are not yet complete. So I want to make that clear. And then Lauren saying in our comment section, hashtag HeyJB, priority should be given in any case that the person has not been charged, which I think is very interesting. Ray, do you want to say something about that before I go to these results?
Yes, I agree with that. If anyone that is awaiting on a murder charge, I don't see why there shouldn't be some type of priority.
I think that there's others in our comment section based on the comments that are now coming in that feel the same. Let's go to Denise. Hashtag HJB. I've been looking for an update on this case for months. Thank you for following up. So disappointing it's taking this long, and something should really be done about the timeline. We'll come back to some other comments if we can. Let's just go to YouTube really quickly though, if we can. Ariel with this comment, and I don't think I have it on screen. Maybe if I pop in over here, we can animate it on screen. Well, you know what? I'll come back to YouTube here in just a second. Let's get to these Facebook Live poll results. We asked, should states allow for expedited autopsy results for high-profile death investigations? And it's kind of got scrambled here, the code. But basically 2/3 of poll respondents, 68% say yes, and about a third, 32%, say no, that all cases should be treated the same. And then, of course, because look, if you start to allow for certain autopsies to be expedited, that could, of course, upset certain families who feel like they are being cheated by the system and who is making the determination. But, of course, there's been so much negative feedback on this timeline of 4 to 6 months, and perhaps no one's been more vocal than Ray here on the right side of your screen. Ray, this is something that, again, you wanted to speak for your family too as well, not even just yourself, but how your family has been handling this entire process?
Right. I know some people, they may have never experienced something like this, but it is very difficult to not know. I'm not saying we are no better and we deserve an expedite in our case over anyone else. But in any case that perhaps a minor is involved or they are still waiting on a murder charge to complete, then it should have priority.
Ray, I'll let you get to your little one here. If you want to hop back on in just a second, you can. Go do your thing.
Okay.
Let me read what the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences wrote to Ray in this correspondence, finally getting through to somebody. And I'll read this as it is in the email. We strive every day to complete each case in a timely manner while ensuring all necessary and comprehensive forensic testing is conducted with the highest quality and in compliance with international laboratory standards. So people have been asking in our comment section, what's the holdup? The holdup is likely, as I understood it when I did some digging on this, just the volume of cases, and of course how they want to make sure that they're getting it right. And that's what this statement here in part reads, that they're just trying to get it right. So that, look, the worst case scenario would be that these laboratory results are challenged in a court of law, and because of a flaw in the process that was used, a case either becomes more difficult to prosecute or a case gets thrown out entirely. So getting it right is so crucially important from a forensic science standpoint, from a law enforcement standpoint, from a prosecution standpoint. So I think you would, if you asked 100 detectives out there, you'd get 100 of the same responses, and they would tell you, look, just get it right. It's not as if, and while we have, of course, Ray, who is, and the Carli family, who is just clamoring for updates, trying to get updates of any kind, it's not a situation where we have a potential alleged killer on the loose. Again, Marcus Spanavello, seen here on the right side of your screen, he remains in jail on the Florida Panhandle, the Santa Rosa County Jail, on multiple charges. I have it actually right here, the jail log, booked after being, of course, extradited back to the Panhandle, booked on April 17th at 11:05 at night, 35 years old, booked on destroying evidence, obstruction of a criminal investigation, and obstructing justice. And again, he is accused of tampering with evidence in the form of allegedly destroying and disposing of Cassie Carli's phone. He's also accused of giving a story to investigators that didn't add up with evidence collected over the course of their investigation, certain just parts of the timeline and certain statements that he made didn't add up with some of the video evidence that was gathered over the course of the investigation. Ray, I'd like to just end out here before we, of course, lose you to full-time mom duty.
Yeah.
Want to give you
Sorry about
the
that.
opportunity here to the floor is yours. I know that your family has very much been seeking updates, and perhaps we're hopefully on the shorter end of that timeline, 30 days or so away.
Yeah, I just want to say, and Santa Rosa, they have been amazing. They have been in contact and communication with us. But as far, once again, it's just agonizing waiting for these results. I don't think any family, any victim should have to wait this long. And I pray that 30 to 60 days is more like 30, so we can have some answers soon and just begin healing.
When you do learn of the results, how are you preparing for that? Because I know that's going to be a difficult day for you and your family.
I am prepared for an overwhelm of emotions, but looking forward to it.
All right, Ray Carli, folks, joining us here on WFLA Now. Ray, we really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us as always.
Oh, thank you, JB. Thank you all. I hope to see you soon.
All righty, take care now. Back with you here live, folks, on WFLA Now, and Ray with a little one at home, getting back to it. And of course, as a reminder, Sailor, the daughter of Cassie Carli, and again, Marcus Spanavello, is on the Florida Panhandle, and is doing as well as any 4-year-old can. That is, of course, dealing with the loss of a mother at such a young and tender age, asking questions, of course, about her mother. But as Ray noted here on the live stream, she is very aware that her mother is now in heaven, which of course can be extraordinarily difficult for anyone to process, let alone somebody who is at the tender age of 4, really, before even beginning school. There's just so much, I'm sure, to process, and not just even now in the immediacy of the moment, but in the future, as of course Sailor grows up and lives a life without her mother. Extremely difficult, but at least with a family that clearly, as we have discussed in the past, a family that is surrounding her with love, compassion, and support. Folks, we're going to be concluding the live stream here in just a moment. I would like to get to some of the comments on YouTube Live in addition to Facebook Live. Didn't mean to leave my YouTube Live commenters hanging, so let's get to some of the comments, like from Ariel really quickly, #KJB. Unfortunately, if it happened for getting results sooner, there would be comments about unfairness. All are suffering, praying for you all. I do feel that the family needs to know now, though. And I think Ariel's right. If you start to talk about certain families getting pushed to the front of the line for autopsy results, there's going to be some outrage out there, without question, because families that have been waiting for an extended period of time, that are still waiting, are going to ask, what makes this case different from mine? And that would be a very, very difficult question to be, of course, answered. Selena says, #KJB, my heart goes out to the family. This shouldn't take as long as it has. Keeping you in my prayers. That, of course, comment being for Ray. Marina's Seaglass, #KJB. The possible suspect is in jail. This deserves to have immediate results. Hence, the ex-boyfriend could get out and cause harm to others involved in the case, in my honest opinion. Marcus Spanavello, again, remains in jail, and there is no word that I have received that he is anywhere closer to getting out. He is likely, in all likelihood, going to be in jail when these autopsy results are released in the next 30 to 60 days. As a reminder, as we have reported and others have reported as well, when Marcus was confronted by investigators, he, post-arrest, he used one word in response back to investigators, and the word was lawyer. This is a case where the Santa Rosa County Sheriff has not been shy about using the word dirtbag to describe Marcus Spanavello. And again, Marcus Spanavello, while accused of an act of evil publicly and being responsible for Cassie Carli's death, he is yet to face murder charges because of the system and how it works. We are awaiting the autopsy results. A cause of death is going to be determined. And really, something, too, that is important to remember is that not only does the autopsy provide clarity in how she died, but when and where Cassie Carli died as well. Where exactly? We still don't know the answer to this. Where was Cassie killed? We don't know if it was in Florida. We don't know if it was in Alabama. And we don't know timeline-wise when this happened as well. So the autopsy is going to provide clarity in a lot of different respects, which is why everything right now with this investigation remains on pause pending these autopsy results out of Alabama. And again, the expected timeline is the next 30 to 60 days. To our commenters here as well, hashtag HJB from Scooter, thanks for the stream. This is something that we had been meaning to do for a couple of weeks because of the amount of messages that I still get about the Cassie Carli case. Let's not forget how big the Cassie Carli search was and how big of a story it was. A relatively young mother meeting her ex-boyfriend for a custody exchange, meeting in a relatively public place. Juanes Pagoda's there in Navarre in a parking lot. And again, for a custody exchange of their 4-year-old daughter, and then vanishing, going completely missing, no one knowing where she was. But of course, the daughter and the ex-boyfriend were okay, but no one had heard or seen Cassie Carli. That launching really a 7-day massive search across the southeastern United States, a search effort that ended 7 days later with the discovery of her remains in a barn that Spanavello was connected to. Authorities would say a barn in Springville, roughly Springville, Alabama. It's rural, but really the county is St. Clair County, east of Birmingham, Alabama. The remains were promptly sent to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, as we understand it, for the thorough autopsy. And it's really been mostly quiet since then, since about 5 months ago. Any updates that we get on this story, and whether or not it'll be curious to see if the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office calls a press conference or if it was a press release or how they release any updates, and what happens now with the relationship between Florida and Alabama investigators. Let's not forget that the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, they say that they are going to forward the case over to the corresponding lead investigative agency and district attorney's office. However, how that actually all trickles back to Santa Rosa and back to Florida kind of remains to be seen. And of course, how we find out about it publicly, you would only hope that the Cassie Carli family finds out first before it is announced to the public. But we'll, of course, make sure that we have it for you as soon as we do find out, whether it is in the form of a press conference or a press release or by other means. We'll let you know about it on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Really quickly, a programming note for our audience. We're coming up on, time is now 12:35 Eastern Time. Happy Wednesday to all of you joining us wherever you are joining us from, saying hello from the WFLA Now Stream Center. And want to let you know from a programming perspective, Tracking the Tropics is coming up next. Tracking the Tropics, our weekly show on tropical development, on hurricanes, tropical storms. The tropics are becoming a lot more active, with September quite literally being around the corner, the date today being August 31st. So every Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, we are live to give you a tropics update with some of the best meteorologists that you will find, including some right here in this room here with me who are preparing for that program. So the next live stream will be on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, as well as on Facebook Live, not on YouTube, but on Facebook Live at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, as we go over what is going on in the Atlantic with the current state of the tropics in the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. Really appreciate everybody joining us here on this live stream. Again, the very latest on this story, everything that we have on this story and Florida's biggest headlines, it's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. If you're looking for the update here on the Alabama autopsy being performed on Cassie Carli, you can click on the link in the description on this video. It will, again, take you over to WFLA.com and the WFLA app. We'll be back in a little bit. See you folks at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central for Tracking the Tropics.